Chapter 311, Love Until Death. Hospital. Li Dong's daughter-in-law was still waiting for Fang Hao in the parking lot. She first sized him up, noticing scabbed wounds on Fang Hao's neck. However, other than that, his head and face were unharmed, which relieved her. She said, "I heard about your actions last night. It's good that you're okay. I didn't expect you and Qingyu." "Stop. Damn, would the Li family think I fought with Xingling Tian for Qingyu? What kind of melodramatic love triangle is this?" Fang Hao interrupted, "Big sister, do you think I'm that kind of person?" "Not at all. Because there was no rumor about you and Qingyu, and your connection only started after your divorce when you helped my mother-in-law with her illness. It shouldn't have developed so quickly. But it wasn't for Qingyu. Why did you go to someone else's house and fight? I don't know how to explain to you." "Oh, forget about why I fought. What happened afterward? Will Xingling Tian pursue it?" Fang Hao knew Xingling Tian wouldn't let it go easily. He wouldn't openly target Su Rou and Su Buiyuan's relationship, but he would surely act in the shadows. Just like 4 years ago when Xingling Tian had Yang Wenjin suppress him. Now that Yang Wenjin was gone, although Zhou Long was from the same faction, he was just an acting figure. He couldn't openly confront Huang Yidao, who had more influence in the hospital and favored Fang Hao. So Zhou Long couldn't openly go against him, but others might have fewer scruples. "If you want to scheme against me behind my back, it's a matter of who strikes first, whether it's you or me." Fang Hao didn't want to sit idly, waiting for trouble. He was also waiting for an opportunity to deal with Xingling Tian. What happened last night was related to Qingyu, after all. Matters of the heart are hard to explain. Li Dong's daughter-in-law said, "Yue Xia Huo was present last night. She didn't pursue the matter on the spot, so she probably won't pursue it further. After all, it's not a glorious act for the Xing family." "Yue Huo? That woman last night was Yue Huo? I thought she was Xingling Tian's wife." Fang Hao suddenly realized that Yue Huo, the legal representative of Tianji Pharmaceutical Company, was indeed a real person. He had initially thought it was just a pseudonym, but it turned out she was real and quite beautiful. Xingling Tian is not married. Where would his wife come from? Yue Huo's status in the Xing family is not low, and she can make decisions. She won't publicize this matter, and will keep it within a few people's knowledge. So, you don't need to worry. But, Dr. Fang, personally, I think Yue Huo might approach you privately. No matter the purpose, be firm in your attitude. She won't embarrass you as long as you stand your ground. You see things clearly." Fang Hao understood. As he arrived at the inpatient department, he found Huang Yidao was also there. Huang Yidao handed a medical record to Fang Hao, saying, "Extremely urgent, really extremely urgent. After you finish this case, you can choose anywhere to take me for lunch." Li Dong's daughter-in-law said, "Dr. Fang, if you're going for surgery, what about my mother-in-law?" Huang Yidao interrupted, "Don't worry. First, see Mr. Cheng, and then proceed with the surgery. Since you've arranged everything, what can I say?" Fang Hao opened the medical record, glanced at it, closed it, and handed it to Huang Yidao, saying, "Director Huang, you're setting me up again. This is a 9 out of 10 death case. I won't do it. You can flip to the back. The family has signed a waiver. You don't have to worry about life and death. Honestly, I could do it, and he would truly be dead. But if you do it, there's at least a chance. You're younger, in better physical condition, quicker reflexes, better stability, stronger eyesight than me. In all aspects, you're better than me. Don't delay, finish this quickly and then come over." Huang Yidao handed the medical record to Fang Hao, then hastily left, as if his tail were on fire. "You're playing dirty." Fang Hao was speechless. Li Dong's daughter-in-law was astonished. She had heard of Huang Yidao's reputation, but she never expected him to be so humble in front of Fang Hao. She thought to herself that perhaps they had underestimated Fang Hao's medical skills. She smiled and said, "Dr. Fang, the capable ones are always in demand. Only you can bear this level of trust." Fang Hao didn't say much, went to the office to prepare, and then proceeded to the ward for treatment. Today, the pregnant woman did not come for prenatal checkups, and the myasthenia gravis patient had reached a balanced state of treatment, facing no major issues in daily life other than avoiding strenuous activities. After completing Cheng Lao's treatment, Fang Hao went to the surgical department and met the patient. An 80-year-old retired veteran, who had served for many years, left with a body full of injuries and illnesses. In his younger days, he was reckless, refusing to leave the front lines for minor injuries and illnesses, and had never been willing to be treated in a hospital. Over the years, this had accumulated into chronic and stubborn diseases. Usually, the hospital and family would not recommend surgery for someone of this age, as surgery itself posed a significant risk. However, the old soldier held a special status as one of the few super senior non-commissioned officers, a treasure of the military. The military leadership had given orders to prolong his life at any cost. Therefore, the surgery had to be done, and it had to be successful. Where did Huang Yidao find this patient? In the 4 years Fang Hao had worked in the inpatient department, he had never encountered more than 2 cases like this. However, given Huang Yidao's reputation, such patients would seek him out. Fang Hao couldn't learn more, and it wasn't appropriate to inquire. After studying for half an hour, he devised a comprehensive plan and began the surgery, a coronary artery bypass surgery. After more than 2 hours, Fang Hao successfully completed the surgery, turning the old man's condition from critical to stable. According to his understanding, as long as the patient was taken care of properly, under normal circumstances, he could live for more than 5 years. How does it feel? Huang Yidao and Fang Hao left the operating room through the internal passage, avoiding the main entrance, as Zhou Long had already gone ahead to claim the victory. The Waziyan is not bad. It tastes better than the last time. Fang Hao took a couple of puffs. These were all given to me by those soldiers. They are quite rough, insisting that I accept them, claiming they are special products. They brag about military products, saying no one dares to counterfeit them. I'll criticize them a bit, they're just cigarettes. When I said smoke, I meant the surgery just now. Did you feel a sense of accomplishment? Accomplishment? Look at my back, it's all soaked, nervous to the point of not having a drop of urine. What accomplishment is there? Haha, I'm the same way. I felt more nervous watching than you did doing it. Fang Hao looked around and, seeing no one, whispered, "Can you tell me why you arranged this surgery for me? If I say we hit it off instantly, and I recommended talent, you definitely won't believe it, and I won't either. It's Zhang Jun and Lu Jing who entrusted me. They treat you like a younger brother. I thought that you doing minor surgeries wouldn't help much. So, I gave you a major surgery to accumulate authority. Only then can you become the hospital director. Can this plan really work? Why not? Fang Hao, let me tell you something confidential. The only criterion for selecting the hospital director this time is outstanding medical skills, absolutely outstanding, with no room for fake skills. Zhou Long's shady tactics won't work, he's out of the running. In that case, I feel like I have a chance. Don't be arrogant. Next week, apart from surgery, many expert doctors from various provinces and cities will be transferred to each department. Some of them are well known nationwide. Of course, your real opponent is yourself from start to finish. What worries me the most is that you got divorced at this crucial moment. You were flawless, except for the divorce, which could become a talking point. I will handle it. You won't handle it. Unless you remarry, replacing the old marriage with a new one. And for someone like you, unless you find a woman who loves you to the point of being willing to die for you, you won't consider it. Damn! Fang Hao suddenly felt that the special supply Waziyan was tasteless. Chapter 312, Ex-Wife's Heart Like a Needle. Mathematics Department. Su Rou asked Fei Fei to leave first, wanting to talk alone with her mother. She handed over the house key and said, "This is the key to our home. If you can't open it, he might have changed the lock. In that case, you can have a locksmith replace it." Zhou Fen glanced at the key and asked, "Did you get the key using this method?" He didn't object. He has me in his heart, why would he object? We even slept together last night, sharing the same bed. Su Rou was somewhat proud. She and Fang Hao had exchanged locks twice, and in the end, Fang Hao had compromised. She emerged victorious. Of course, she also considered changing the door. "So, can you two remarry?" Zhou Fen's expression relaxed a bit. She had witnessed her daughter and son-in-law's intimate activities several times, and Su Rou's boldness had indeed played a role in the possibility of remarriage. Su Rou said, "My husband and I have never divorced." "Then, is the divorce certificate fake?" "That is true, but I have my husband's child in my belly. Twins, in fact." "Alright, let's not talk about this. I'm giving you the key so that you can take care of Tian Tian and keep an eye on my husband. Don't let him find a stepmother for Tian Tian. Why don't you do it yourself?" "I'm going abroad." "Abroad? To give birth?" "Yes. Why not give birth in the country? Do you want foreign citizenship?" "Did Fang Hao agree?" "My husband won't agree. During this time, I have a premonition that he's becoming restless. I can't be with him anymore. Otherwise, if he makes me miscarry, what should I do? You have to understand, he's a genius doctor. For various difficult and complex illnesses, he can figure out ways to treat them. Making me have a miscarriage is a small matter for him, he has 1,000 ways to do it easily. Su Ro spoke softly. She had already learned about Fang Hao's encounter with Xingling Tian last night, giving her a faint sense of danger. Her husband had gone to confront Xingling Tian last night and emerged unscathed, giving her an ominous feeling. Her husband could drive a domestically produced car worth tens of thousands of yuan into Tianji Peak without any hindrance, indicating that he was managing Tianji Peak. She hadn't figured out how he was managing it, but it definitely wasn't a random move. Secondly, her husband was a top surgical master who had a clear understanding of the physiological results of the human body. He knew the fatal points of the human body. However, when he fought Xingling Tian last night, he only left flesh wounds on Xingling Tian, without hitting any vital points. She felt that this was intentional on her husband's part. Her husband was also a hunter who had been humiliated by Xingling Tian for 4 years. He definitely wouldn't give Xingling Tian an easy time. She was the same. Her husband wouldn't let her off easily either. She believed her most fatal weakness was being pregnant. If her husband had already made a move, she wouldn't be aware of it. When she gave birth, she could experience amniotic fluid embolism, massive hemorrhage, hypertension, and so on, all of which could be fatal. She was mentally handicapped in medical terms and couldn't guard against it. By that time, her husband would have twin sons, and she would become a lifeless body, burned to ashes, truly being crushed by her husband. Another point was that her husband didn't avoid Li Jun and even let Li Jun follow him to Tianji Peak to control the situation. After all, Xingling Tian wouldn't dare to do anything against her husband in front of the police. In fact, last night, her husband really fought someone and had Li Jun take control, allowing him to retreat unscathed. Maybe her husband didn't do it on purpose, and many coincidences allowed him to retreat unscathed. However, Su Ro had to be more cautious. Zhou Fen frowned and said, "Do you see Fang Hao as a bad person? If he's a bad person, are there any good people in the world? Hearts are separated by skin." "Enough. Xiao, although you're my daughter, I can't see through you. Your mouth is full of lies, and your scheming is getting deeper. You're not as straightforward as Fang Hao. Do you live comfortably like this?" "Mom, I'm your daughter. Why do you judge me like this? Do you still know you're my daughter? Look at what you've done now. You've disappointed both me and your dad. What have you done with your life? You divorced Fang Hao because you found someone new. That's a matter of emotions. Your dad and I think you're an adult, and you have the right to pursue your own happiness. Even if you're fickle and easily bored, we still ultimately wish you well." Zhou Fen continued, "Although Fang Hao is talented, his background is somewhat lacking. He still hasn't settled down in a stable job and is still working odd jobs at the hospital. If you don't like him and have found someone better for the moment, and you don't want to wait for his bright future, that's your choice. We haven't said anything about it, and we still choose to support you. However, you shouldn't slander Fang Hao just because there's someone ready to take over. He's not a bad person." Su Ro interrupted, "He even told me to have a miscarriage and cursed me with a bad death. He curses me every time he sees me. How malicious he is, you don't know. This is quite extraordinary. If your dad and I were to divorce, I would also curse him with a bad death. Fang Hao is just someone who dares to love and hate, right? You lived with him for 4 years. Do you really think he's such a despicable person? If he were really like that, with his abilities, wouldn't he have made you miscarry already? Alright, you're fine now. Don't assume malicious intentions in others." Zhou Fen continued, "One last question. Do you really want to remarry Fang Hao? My husband and I have never divorced." "Oh, so you can ignore the divorce certificate from the Civil Affairs Bureau and the national marriage law? Let me ask you, if Fang Hao really finds someone else to remarry, goes to the Civil Affairs Bureau, and gets married, can you stop him?" "I can't, but he won't because he loves me. I love him too. Mom, just give me a few months. After I give birth to the child, we can remarry." Su Ro was confident. Zhou Fen said, "If Fang Hao wants to remarry, I can't stop him. The key point is whether you're willing to break off with the person outside. Returning to the family is meaningful for remarrying. Otherwise, you're still playing both sides. Do you think Fang Hao is a fool? Do you think we are fools too? I don't have anyone outside. I only have my husband. Look, this is the paternity test for the twins in my belly. It's from my husband. This is the truth. Mom, I won't say more. Take care." Su Ro left after putting down a file. Zhou Fen looked at the paternity test, confirming that the children were Fang Hao's. She hoped that, for the sake of the children, they wouldn't trouble each other anymore. She tried calling Fang Hao, but there was no answer. She decided to go to the hospital instead. In Fang Hao's temporary office, she saw him surrounded by dense medical literature, as usual, in the style of her son-in-law. Successful men always strive for excellence. After waiting for a while, Fang Hao, wearing a surgical gown, walked in. Zhou Fen asked, "Who let you perform surgery again? How did it go?" Seeing Fang Hao's relaxed expression, she knew the surgery was successful. She continued, "Shero asked me to give this to you. She said you should know the result. She's going abroad, pursuing a dream. Since you're busy, she asked me to look after Tian for you." Fang Hao looked at the paternity test, which showed that the children in his ex-wife's belly were his. However, he was still skeptical. In the future, if his ex-wife brought the children to him, he would definitely have another paternity test done. Therefore, the significance of the current test results was not significant for him. He took out his phone, sent a message to Li Jun, and asked him to check the details of his ex-wife's purchased plane ticket. Soon, he received feedback. There was still more than half an hour before the plane took off. "Su Ro, did you send your mom here to take care of my son, to prevent your old lover from retaliating against my son?" Chapter 313, Confession. Before getting off work, Qing Lao suddenly experienced a drastic drop in heart rate, and the ECG monitor started beeping an alarm, indicating a possible ventricular fibrillation. Fang Hao rushed over, seeing Qing Lao in an agitated state with irregular heartbeats. While rescuing her, he asked Li Dong's wife, who was present, what happened? What person or event has triggered her like this? Li Dong's wife replied, "She found out about that matter. I said to try your best not to let her know, or at least tell her in a gentle way. It was my uncle, the old master, who couldn't hold back and told her. Dr. Fang, what should we do now? It's just emotional excitement. You found out in time, and we didn't waste any time. It's not a big issue." Fang Hao administered treatment, quickly stabilizing Qing Lao's heart rate and returning it to normal. I really felt like I stepped into the gates of hell just now. I thought I wouldn't come out. Dr. Fang, you really saved my life this time. Qing Lao expressed her gratitude. The main reason is that you didn't want to die. Otherwise, even with 10 of me, I wouldn't be able to bring you back. Qing Lao, why can't you just take things easy? You're struggling with your own life, and you still worry about others in your family. Fang Hao asked the doctors and nurses to leave, then directly said, Qing Yu is not self-disciplined, and it's affecting her. But the Qing family has more than just Qing Yu. If her number is cancelled, you can train another one. Li Dong's wife felt a chill in her heart. She didn't expect Fang Hao to be so indifferent and use this kind of comforting method. Qing Lao asked, what about you and Xiao Yu? I have nothing to do with her. I went to argue with Xingling Tian last night, not for Qing Yu but because Xingling Tian bullied my son. My ex-wife took my son out for dinner, encountered Xingling Tian, had an unpleasant incident, and my son was wronged. I was angry, so I went to confront him. Qing Yu and I have only met 3 or 4 times. We have no connection, and besides, I know she likes mature and older men. How could I provoke her? Fang Hao explained, trying to make it clear that he had no intentions with Qing Yu. It was essential to avoid taking the blame. Both the Qing and Li families were significant interest groups, and he needed to explain to prevent them from thinking he had ulterior motives. Qing Lao nodded, not believing there was an issue between Fang Hao and Qing Yu. Although she hoped for someone like Fang Hao among the younger generation or as a son-in-law, she still asked, Dr. Fang, what do you think I should do about this matter? You can just go fight with Xingling Tian. Do you really need me to say it? Fang Hao said, Qing Lao, this is your family matter. I'm an outsider. What qualifications do I have to meddle? I'm just an ordinary doctor who treats illnesses. Now that you're fine, it's also my off-duty time. I'll go back. If you have any issues, call me. Li Dong's wife escorted Fang Hao out and asked, Mother-in-law, any instructions? Tell your uncle to let Qing Yu deal with her own mess. The face of the Qing family has been completely lost because of her. Also, tell your uncle to intensify the search for Xingling Tian's tail. Xingling Tian is acting recklessly, bullying us too much. Upon returning to his office, Fang Hao found that his former mother-in-law was not there. After making a call, he learned that she was in the main building, having a discussion with Yang Wenjin. Yang Wenjin is back? Can Xingling Tian still bring Yang Wenjin back? You've retired, and now you're causing trouble again? Su Ro, you just boarded the plane, and Yang Wenjin, your old flame, resurfaces. Is this just a coincidence? Fang Hao called Huang Yidao, but he didn't answer, likely still engrossed in his knife play. Fang Hao decided to head to the main building. Main building. Since Yang Wenjin couldn't reclaim her office as the dean, a new office had been arranged for her, set up just yesterday. Closing the door behind her, she gestured for Zhou Fen to take a seat and proudly declared, Zhou Fen, you didn't expect that after my retirement, I would be rehired as a visiting professor, did you? Zhou Fen retorted, what's the use? Your mediocre skills will only tarnish your reputation. If I were you, I'd retire for good, spend time with your child, and enjoy the golden years. You're the mediocre one. Your whole family is mediocre, Yang Wenjin frowned, then why don't you retire? I did retire. I resigned from teaching at East River University. But you joined the Chinese Academy of Sciences Mathematics group. You didn't really retire. You just couldn't stand seeing me succeed, right? I treat those few graduate students like my own children. I'm going to guide them. I use my old face to secure some projects for them, and I won't be directly involved in the research. Zhou Fen, you're too despicable. Do you think I can't get any graduate students? Do you think I can't secure any projects? Yang Wenjin realized that discussing academic matters with Zhou Fen only brought humiliation upon herself. She changed the topic, saying, I asked you to come here to tell you not to dig up old issues with your useless former son-in-law. Let me correct you. Fang Hao is still my son-in-law, not a former one. Because he and my daughter have never divorced, and my daughter is pregnant with Fang Hao's child. Zhou Fen smiled, her eyes fixed on Yang Wenjin. She understood now, Yang Wenjin had summoned her for this reason. Yang Wenjin, you want to witness a spectacle, but I won't let you have your way. She said, speaking of old issues, I recall some glorious past of yours. In our junior year winter break, I heard you went for an abortion. Smack. Yang Wenjin slammed the table. Zhou Fen, you've gone too far. Why are you bringing up something baseless from many years ago? Fine, let's continue. In our senior year, there was a period when your health suddenly declined. Did you also go for an abortion? Zhou Fen squinted and said, did you fabricate stories about me? Let's continue this mutual harm, then. In our senior year, a certain department head got drunk and claimed that there's a red butterfly tattoo on a certain part of your lower body. How did he know? Could it be? Zhou Fen, you've gone too far. Yang Wenjin slammed the table again and then surrendered with both hands, saying, let's stop here. I admit I was wrong. I shouldn't have brought this up. I invited you here not to discuss this. I wanted you to convey a message to Fang Hao. Zhou Long has evidence that he accepted money from patients. There's nothing to convey. He has medical skills. He alleviates patients' suffering, and they give him consultation fees to improve their lives. Isn't that normal? After burying him for 4 years, and recently deducting his salary, are you saying he should survive on love alone? Zhou Fen frowned, not expecting Fang Hao to accept money. How is this my fault? You swear to me on your household registration book that you, Yang Wenjin, have never taken any benefits from patients? You? Zhou Fen, you're just making excuses. I can swear that I've never taken any in the hospital. But your son-in-law is different. He took it right there in the hospital, in front of patients and their families. Do you have any evidence? You think this is baseless? Then ask your precious son-in-law. Yang Wenjin, if you're lying, you know the consequences. Zhou Fen stood up and left with a gloomy face. At the elevator, she met Fang Hao, glared at him in anger, and told him to come back with her, to talk about it at home. In the car, Fang Hao asked, What? What did Yang Wenjin say that made you so angry? Did she tell you I took money from patients? Did you really take it? Yes. How could you be so foolish? You're a doctor, how could you accept money? Don't you know that you could be fired from the hospital, your reputation would be ruined. Yang Wenjin said you took money in the hospital. Are you desperate for money or just reckless? Aren't you afraid of going to jail? Xingling Tian, you really like playing dirty. Fang Hao said, it's not to the point of going to jail. This is a hush money given to me and director Lu Yu. Yang Wenjin only knows part of the story, not the whole thing. She's making a big deal out of this, she missed the best opportunity. Zhou Fen said, Lu Yu was also there? This time it's not just Yang Wenjin, but also Zhou Long, who found out as well. Isn't Zhou Long from your Zhou family? He wouldn't harm me, would he? Fang Hao glanced at Zhou Fen, still unable to bear it. Just now, when old Qing found out that Zhongling Tian had manipulated Qingyu, he almost passed out. If you knew, you wouldn't just almost, you'd probably really be dead right away. Su-ro, you have a big heart, letting your mother stay with me, really sure I won't tell your mother the truth? Fang Hao said, your daughter is really not on my side anymore, she knew about the money taking long ago, and probably it was her who told Yang Wenjin and Zhou Long. She's gone abroad and still didn't forget to betray me once more. Chapter 314, Warning. My daughter suddenly came to me, handed me Fang Hao's house key, and went to the airport to catch an international flight. Was this planned? Zhou Fen was dumbfounded, she felt completely played by her daughter. She said, Fang Hao, do you also have many things you're hiding from me? Yes, Professor Zhou, I indeed have things I'm hiding from you. Not just you, there are things I won't even tell my parents in the countryside. Take my divorce from Su-ro, for example, I haven't told them about it. Fang Hao admitted directly but didn't elaborate on the specifics. Hey, everyone should have some secrets. Don't rush to tell your parents. Maybe you'll remarry. It's impossible to remarry. Oh, I was about to tell you, during this time, if I find someone suitable, I'll remarry directly. You're quite anxious. Are all you rural folks this unable to withstand loneliness? Zhou Fen frowned. If Fang Hao remarried, what would be Su-ro's position? She and Fang Hao would no longer have the relationship of mother-in-law and son-in-law. Fang Hao laughed and said, Professor Zhou, your thinking is wrong. My daughter and I are divorced, and if she finds happiness and goes abroad, her purpose is not ruled out. Oh, it's basically 100% certain. She and her lover are living happily together. You see, your daughter is happy, and I have no reason to hang myself on your daughter's tree. I pursue my happiness, which is completely understandable, right? Zhou Fen sighed and said, I don't understand now. Does Xiero really have a man outside? If she does, why does she still want to remarry you and have a child with you? She definitely has. Otherwise, do you think she would be willing to divorce me when she's pregnant with my child? Doesn't her new man mind? Who knows? Maybe your daughter is charming enough to make someone willingly take over. You're so sure. So who is her new man? I promised her I wouldn't tell you so soon. Besides, she's also looking forward to surprising you. Fang Hao changed the topic and asked, what did Yang Wenjin say to you? She didn't come back just to expose me, did she? She has been rehired as a visiting professor and returned to work at the hospital. I don't understand why someone like her, who has half a bucket of water, is so popular. A knowledgeable and skillful doctor like you can't get proper recognition. A visiting professor? Is she acting like the Empress Dowager Cixi? Fang Hao said, the reason is, Zhou Long, who is related to your Zhou family, is now acting as the interim dean. Even though he has only half a bucket of water, he has taken on the role. Your Zhou family may support him further, helping him secure the position permanently. Therefore, leadership positions and specific grassroots positions have different requirements. Leadership is born, and specific grassroots positions need certain skills. He continued, your Zhou family is producing two key figures, a ministerial-level cadre and a general in the group army. They have a close relationship with Zhou Long, right? Are they considered close relatives? Oh, you know about this too. Who told you? Yang Wenjin told me. She asked me to retreat wisely and become Zhou Long's loyal supporter. After Zhou Long has achievements, I will receive favors, allowing me to rise in rank and wealth. Fang Hao, do you lack that little money? I have high hopes for you, not Zhou Long. If I support you as the dean, how do you want me to act? Duke? Yes, Zhou Long suddenly gained considerable influence, with the support of Zhongling Tian. Even if Zhou Long lacked medical skills, forming an exceptionally strong medical team could give him a good chance of being elected. No matter how strong Huang Yidao and I were, it would be difficult to contend with 4 fists with 2 hands. But could I use Zhou Fen to deal with Zhou Long? Fang Hao tentatively said, you don't have confidence in Zhou Long, but someone in your Zhou family believes in him. I think if my former uncle and father-in-law increase their support, elevating Zhou Long to a hospital in the capital, wouldn't it be more prestigious for your Zhou family? You, country bumpkin, you're quite cunning. Zhou Fen chuckled, understanding Fang Hao's intention. Since it was challenging for her son-in-law to compete with Zhou Long in terms of resources, the strategy was to give more resources to Zhou Long, effectively inviting him to leave. After picking up her son, Fang Hao asked his mother-in-law to take the child home first while he went to the market to buy some groceries. Upon returning, he received a call from Huang Yidao, who was aware of Yang Wenjin's return. Fang Hao shared his idea of boosting Zhou Long's prominence in the capital and inquired if Huang Yidao could execute it. Huang Yidao replied, "Zhou Long is not a concern, he won't become the dean. However, your plan to transfer him is excellent. If Zhou Long leaves, the hospital will be leaderless, giving you an opportunity." Fang Hao was astonished, saying, "You didn't understand. I intended to push you up, but you want to push me? Have you considered that I'm not qualified for this? Once Zhou Long is gone, it's the best time for you to take over the dean's affairs. Don't miss this chance." After hanging up, Fang Hao felt that Huang Yidao was truly a lost cause. Thinking that Huang Yidao was unreliable, Fang Hao called Lu Jing to convey the idea and asked her to inform Zhang Jing. Such matters should be handled by the sly fox Zhang Jing to bring out the best results. Exiting the elevator, Fang Hao unexpectedly received a call from his ex-wife, Su Ro. He went to the secure corridor, checked for no one around, and answered, saying, "You still have the nerve to call me? Husband, don't be so angry. I also have difficulties. I'll be flying out of the country in a few minutes. When I come back, I'll bring a healthy Yue Xia back, and our family of 6 will be together." Su Ro clearly considered Yue Xia as Fang Hao's daughter, and with the twins in her belly, it would indeed be a family of 6. Fang Hao sneered, saying, "Do you think it's possible? Don't think that bringing your mom here will make me subservient to you. Let me tell you, I'm ready to tell her everything about you and Xingling Tian. When that happens, I won't take responsibility for the consequences." "Husband, you won't. You're not that kind of person. If you wanted to tell my mom, you would have done it already. Don't talk about these useless things. Has the old thing left? Won't you be happy to hear that? I'm sure you won't forget about me. If you want to tell my mom, you would have done it by now. Don't talk like this. Has the old woman left or not? Husband, don't be like this. Ever since I met you, you've been the one I love the most. That has never changed. So disgusting. Let's talk about business." Yang Wenjin stepped down, and in a blink of an eye, she's coming back again. The old woman is really capable. Could this also be part of your arrangement? Husband, I don't want to talk about this. Yes, I let Yang Wenjin come back because this way, you can stabilize yourself. Next week, there will be significant personnel changes in our provincial hospital. Yang Wenjin knows everything about you, and she still wants to control the hospital. The only way for her to achieve that is by appointing you. Isn't this good for you? You're being so kind? Husband, think about it. Have I ever harmed you? You're considering me so much. I'm deeply moved. Come back. Let's remarry. Hee, husband, hearing you say that makes me so happy. Along this journey, I will find it extremely gratifying and memorable. Unfortunately, I took it seriously. Husband, before I give birth to your child, don't remarry. Otherwise, I'll detonate the time bomb on you. Boom. If I can't have you, I'll destroy you. Chapter 315, My Own Doing. Who is he trying to intimidate? Fang Hao considered his ex-wife's words as nothing more than an attempt to disgust him, refusing to let it affect his mood. What heavy dirt could she possibly have on him? Han Yan's money? Xiao Yiheng's money? Su Jie's money? While these incomes were in a gray area, as long as the parties involved didn't falsely accuse him, what could Su Ro do to him? Manuscripts? Except for the first piece, which he contacted as Jin Shaojian, the rest were done anonymously. How could she possibly know? Even if things were exposed, the one in real trouble would be the mastermind behind it. What did it have to do with him? Stock trading money? Su Buiyuan confirmed it was okay, and Lu Jing and others didn't ask for it back. Was he supposed to be afraid of her investigation? Regarding medical matters, he never took lives or made serious mistakes. Was he supposed to fear digging into the past? On the contrary, Su Ro, with her mother in his house, had a vulnerable point. If he reported her, her mother might be driven to death. Wait, would she voluntarily reveal the incidents that happened on their wedding night? Were there videos and photos? Fang Hao suddenly thought of this and felt extremely embarrassed. If his ex-wife tore off the face, everyone would suffer together. He could leave Jiangdong City and start a new life in a place where nobody knew him. Or he could endure it, spit in the face, and continue his mediocre life. He was the victim here. Could she twist the facts and say he invited Xingling Tian? And what about you, Su Ro? Do you have any face left to live with? As he inserted the key and opened the door, Fang Hao suddenly had another thought. Should he take a risk and voluntarily expose everything? Perhaps he could blow up his ex-wife and Xingling Tian's pawns? As the saying goes, when a man is poor, the woman who loves him appears. When a woman is poor, the man who protects her appears. When a person is down and out, both those close and ghosts appear. He felt it was feasible. Huang Yidao even said that by stirring up the water, everyone would surface, and only then could one see who was human and who was a ghost. Hey, Fang Hao, what are you thinking? Why do you look like a wooden person, motionless? Looking over, Fang Hao saw that after entering, he didn't close the door and stood in the entrance as if in a trance. Nothing, just thought of a medical case suddenly, felt there might be a better treatment plan. Fang Hao closed the door and quickly walked to the kitchen. TSK, how come it's not an inspiration for math? A bit disappointed. With your mathematical talent, if there's a flash of inspiration, it must be a very cutting-edge mathematical problem. Feeling a bit disappointed, Zhou Fen followed into the kitchen, asking, really not related to mathematics? Think about mathematics? Why would I think about mathematics? Why haven't you given me that 5 million? Don't talk about deducting fees and kickbacks, let alone taxes. If you withhold half, that would be too stingy. You're so focused on money. I've already submitted an application report to the finance department. I won't shortchange you a penny. Zhou Fen lightly scolded, completely giving up hope. Everything seemed dull, as if she had missed out on a great human discovery. After dinner, Fang Hao went to the study to research a medical case. Zhou Fen came in twice and found Fang Hao was not studying mathematics. She felt helpless and went back to tidy up Fang Tian. Soon, Fang Tian came crying to complain, saying grandma asked him to practice writing, and if he made a slight mistake, she would spank him. If you can't do it well, you should be spanked. This time, Fang Hao didn't stand on his son's side. After all, education should not be determined by the child's temperament. Recently, his son had been taken care of by his ex-wife, and his temperament was a bit floating. With the strict requirements of his ex-mother-in-law, it might not be a bad thing to suppress his son a bit. Indeed, Zhou Fen appeared in the study, instructing her grandson to go back and continue practicing writing. Fang Tian, seeing his father's attitude, could only lower his head and go back with his grandmother. The next day, hospital. Fang Hao carried out routine treatments for Cheng Lao and the pregnant woman, then went to the surgery department. After signing the documents, Huang Yidao instructed his assistant to prepare and called Fang Hao to sit closer, almost whispering. He said, it's unexpected that Yang Wenjin can come back. Her team will definitely push Zhou Long to take over. I figured it out. When the time comes, I'll take leave and let Zhou Long and his team handle it. Fang Hao said, our hospital is too small, it can't accommodate the likes of Zhou Long. It's better if he leaves, isn't it? Huang Yidao replied, if Zhou Long leaves, and if the health department parachutes someone who knows nothing about medicine, we'll become pawns in someone else's hands. What should we do then? Fang Hao said, there's no way. Just obey the leadership. But in his heart, he didn't think that way. If that day came, he would go to the second hospital and seek refuge with Jianghua. It was better than enduring humiliation here. He said, I don't want to bother about these things. Whoever becomes the dean is not my concern. As a jack of all trades, do I need to worry about such matters? Director Huang, you were able to dig up Yang Wenjin's case last time, so you must have the authority. This time, find me some cancer cases. Any type of cancer will do. I need to catch up. No problem. Huang Yidao highly agreed with Fang Hao's attitude. Doctors shouldn't engage in power struggles. They should focus on studying medicine and improving their medical skills. Throughout the day, Huang Yidao didn't ask Fang Hao to perform any surgeries but instead had his assistant provide Fang Hao with several medical cases. Fang Hao immersed himself in them, forgetting everything around him. On the way home, he received a transoceanic call from his ex-wife. He didn't answer, but she still sent him a message, letting him know she had safely arrived in the United States, and Jia had been admitted to the hospital for examination. Only now? Did she take a connecting flight? Did that old woman go with her? Fang Hao felt a bit bitter but helpless. Scars, repeated breakdowns, and healing again. Zhou Fen had already picked up their child from the kindergarten, and they almost arrived at the entrance of the residential building together. Zhou Fen said, the quality of the people in this community is quite average. Just now, someone came out from the side, bumped into Tian, didn't even apologize, as if nothing had happened. If it weren't for seeing that person acting a bit nervously, I would have reported it to the police. Nervous? Fang Hao said, most people in our country are ordinary. Not everyone can be at the top like you. Zhou Fen said, your abilities mean that you are not an ordinary person. The current life should not be what you want, right? Fang Hao looked at his son and said, "That's right. This is not the life I want, but it's the one I brought upon myself." His phone rang. It was Yang Wenjin's phone. He didn't answer it, but soon after, the hospital's landline called. He thought it was Wang Yidao, so he picked up, only to find it was still Yang Wenjin. Yang Wenjin scolded Fang Hao for not answering his phone. She mentioned a dinner party tonight with the deputy director of the Municipal Health Bureau, Director Cui, and others, asking Fang Hao to accompany them. Fang Hao directly refused and hung up. Deputy Director Su Ro's aunt, had always wanted to transfer Fang Hao to the Municipal Health Bureau as a civil servant. Zhou Fan asked, "Who called? Little Ro?" Fang Hao said, "No, it was Yang Wenjin. She called me to accompany her for dinner and drinks." "Oh, your little sister, Deputy Director Su of the Municipal Health Bureau, will also be there. I have this time, I'd rather read a few more pages of a math book at home. What do you think?" Zhou Fan said, "Right, these socializing events are useless. In the future, you should make choices. If you can't control the dinner, then don't go. Especially these accompany eating and drinking events, they are worthless, a waste of time and life. After we finish eating later, I'll take Tian out to play, not disturbing your research." Taking advantage of the situation, Zhou Fan said with a hint of cunning in her eyes,